Hey everyone, it's Joe Waxman, and this is the top 10 list of foods to avoid. Starting at number 10, we have GMOs. GMOs are often used in factory farms for animal feed. The most common ones are corn and soy, as most people know. Now, there are others, and different GMO foods have come and gone. They have different risk factors, and there's been no real long-term studies to show the safety of GMOs. But we know that Roundup Ready GMO corn and soy especially are not good. Not only are the genes modified in a laboratory, they're made to withstand toxic Roundup, which has been known to cause cancer and is considered a carcinogen. Whenever you're eating GMOs, especially GMO corn and soy, you're getting Roundup as well. So that's a major factor with GMOs. In addition to that, there are predatory practices by Monsanto, especially as far as how they treat farmers, and there's a lot of backing and forthing, revolving doors between government and Monsanto's where ex-Monsanto lawyers and executives are, in essence, writing the laws that protect Monsanto. So we don't really know fully the long-term effects of GMOs. Number 9 on the list is high fructose corn syrup. And the commercially processed foods with high fructose corn syrup like ice cream, sodas, candy bars, packaged cookies, sweets, and in addition, poor quality sugary alcohol. High fructose corn syrup is in fact worse than white sugar because it has a higher concentration of fructose instead of glucose. Now, grains, when they break down into simple sugars, they break down into glucose. Fructose, which is found in fruit, is different than glucose because in fruit, then you have all the fiber and the nutrients, phytonutrients, micronutrients, vitamins, minerals. Glucose has to be broken down by the body into glucose, and therefore there's an extra step for conversion, and a lot of it will turn to fat. So high fructose corn syrup has about 55% fructose. It heavily contributes to weight gain, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, and just everything. It makes everything worse. It contributes to fatty liver disease, diabetes type 2. Glucose also leads to greater satisfaction than fructose. Fructose consumption leads to more cravings and less satiety. You become less satisfied from fructose than from glucose, and then you end up eating more, and it can contribute to greater sugar cravings. When you eat fructose, you crave more. And I included sugary alcohol drinks in there because alcohol is destructive in its own right, and then you combine it with sugar or high fructose corn syrup especially, and the combination makes it really destructive. In moderation, healthy, good quality alcohol is good, but when you take poor quality alcohol, add sugar, sweets, high fructose corn syrup, then you just have a really destructive cocktail. Especially the more you drink, the more toxic it becomes. Number 8 on the list is any mammal that eats flesh. So, I think we all know that we don't eat dogs and cats. We love to have them as pets, not food. And for the same reason, we don't eat lions, we don't eat wolves, we don't eat predatory animals because that would make us super predators. What would it take in the wild to go and hunt a predator? Lions are by nature hunters. So if you're hunting the hunter, then you're a super hunter. That's counter-humanitarian. It's not what we want as humans. In addition, carnivorous animals have more focused, advanced, evolved nervous system. For instance, who herds who, the dog or the sheep? The sheep don't herd the dogs herd the sheep because the dogs have the kind of nervous system for that. They have this kind of focused nervous system like all hunters do that can track down prey, run after them, target them, and kill them. Herbivorous animals don't have that quality. You'll never see a sheep chasing down a dog or a wolf because that's not in their nature. In addition, like when these dogs, cats, predators are eating meat, they're getting concentrated nutrition. They're taking all the nutrition from the plants that's concentrated in the sheep or the deer or whatever animal they're eating, and they're concentrating it. So they have a more evolved nervous system. We can teach a dog tricks. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but you can teach a dog tricks. You can't really do the same with herbivorous animals. Like you can't teach a goat to do dog tricks or a cow to do dog tricks. It just doesn't work. So the nervous system is more highly developed. That's another reason we don't eat mammals that eat other mammals. And the one exception that some people make is pork. And this is also the reason why so many people do not eat pork. Billions of people around the world don't eat pork for this reason, or this one of the reasons anyway. And they might not even understand why this is one of the reasons, but it is. Pigs are, if not predatory, opportunistic animals, scavengers. They'll eat anything. They don't discriminate. And because of this, they're very greedy. They're very gluttonous. Pigs just want to eat, and they don't care what they eat. They're not good, picky or choosy. They just want to stuff their faces, and so they're gluttons and they're greedy. Pigs are greedy animals. They're dirty. They wallow in dirt. Their flesh is full of parasites and toxins from all the endless stuff that they're shoving down their gullet. It's not really healthy to eat pork or pork products, even worse. Number 7 on the list are fried foods with poor quality oils, and is tied with factory farmed eggs and hydrogenated oils. All three of them are tied for number 7. Fried foods with poor quality oils. One of the most common oils that you'll see in restaurants, especially cheap restaurants, is soybean oil, and that soybean oil is GMO. So not only is it genetically modified, but it is laden with Roundup, because that's what the GMO does. They use Roundup on it, Roundup Ready GMO soy. So you take this soybean oil and you fry with it repeatedly, so it's breaking down. You got the toxic carcinogenic Roundup. The oil itself is becoming carcinogenic. Then the foods you're frying are additionally creating further carcinogens. For instance, acrylamide. Whenever you fry potatoes, you get acrylamide. Whenever you fry anything batter fried, the carbohydrates mix with the oil and you get acrylamide. So this is a multi-layered toxic stew. You know, you're taking poor quality oil, GMO, Roundup, repeatedly using it with the wrong way, with like floury carbohydrate things, which you should not fry in the first place. Frying in general is, in my opinion, is out. And you just, that combination just makes it's cancer. Like, you're just eating cancer, basically. So there's that. And now factory farmed eggs. The eggs are laden with cholesterol in the first place. And cholesterol is what causes atherosclerosis, thinning of the arteries due to arterial plaques build up, which causes heart disease and stroke, and erectile dysfunction and dementia and a host of other diseases. And then you're taking something like that and factory farming it. And so what the factory farm is doing is it's pumping these chickens full of synthetic growth hormones, which are essentially synthetic estrogens that are, hundreds or even thousands of times more potent than natural estrogens. So you're eating this food, guys, you're demasculating yourself, you're effeminizing yourself by taking so much estrogen, and it's a growth hormone, so you're making yourself fat on top of that. It's what causes man boobs, all that synthetic estrogen, and even guys get breast cancer these days because of that stuff. It's, again, multi-layers of toxic, carcinogenic, obese harm to your health. There's nothing good about it. And the third thing that we're tied for at number 7 is hydrogenated oils. Take vegetable oil, pump it hydrogen into it so it becomes a solid. What was once a liquid fat is now a solid fat. And a lot of these oils are originally not good. They're not healthy. They could be poor quality to begin with. GMO, Roundup, and then the hydrogenated oils are used in baking and frying. Again, high heat oil, carcinogens, the oil becomes oxidized. It's a toxic combination that is just harmful for everything. It contributes to weight gain, obesity, diabetes, and more of the atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries, and heart attack and stroke. So everything's made worse by these foods. Number 6 on the list is farmed shrimp from China, farmed salmon, and other fish from poor quality fish farms. China, for example. First of all, shrimp are bottom feeders. They're scavengers. They're eating the dead carcasses that fall to the bottom. They're eating all kinds of junk, so they're not really a good food to begin with. If you're looking at it energetically, you're taking in that quality. Do you really want to be a bottom feeder? Do you want to be a garbage feeder? Do you want to be the person that's like scavenging at the bottom, the stuff that nobody else wants? I don't want to eat shrimp for that reason. I don't want to eat it for another reason, that I have a internal skeleton, 2 arms, 2 legs. Shrimp do not. They're in a completely different path of evolution. They belong more to like the bug kingdom. Shrimp and lobster and crab, arachnids like scorpions and spiders and all the bugs. They're all the creepy crawlies with all the legs. That's very different from me. They don't have the right kind of energetic information to nourish me properly. Fish do, because they have a central spine. They have a head, they have an internal skeleton, they have the primitive roots of 2 arms, 2 legs. We can see that. Fish they're in the same family, they're in the same line of evolution as humans. So it's different. But now you take something like a creepy crawly bottom feeder and you farm it in China where there's no good regulations. That the Chinese are known to have toxic heavy metals in their soil and water. The regulations are severely lacking there. And these shrimp are fed with factory farmed pig feces, okay? So you take pig waste, you take factory farmed pigs, feed them with all the worst things, like I already said, GMOs, synthetic hormones, antibiotics and all that. And then you take the waste, the worst part of it, and feed it to the shrimp. I mean, who wants to eat that? If that's not enough, then they take these shrimp and they pump gel into them to make them fatter after after they harvest them. And this gel is made from animal byproducts, again, probably factory farmed, and it has who knows what in it, toxic chemical, right? So there's nothing good about this food. Farmed shrimp from China is toxic, absolutely. It's just not even food anymore. And we could say something similar about farmed salmon or other poor quality farmed fish. Now, I'm not saying there's no good quality farmed salmon or good quality farmed fish. There probably are places with higher standards, but you go to some of these poorer countries, China, other places in Asia, the quality of the farmed fish there is it's terrible. They feed them really poor quality feed. They put tons of antibiotics to keep them healthy. The fish don't have anywhere to go. The salmon flesh does not even turn red. Now, in the testing, they found that these farmed salmon, a lot of them are loaded with toxins, dioxins, PCBs, carcinogens. Their nutritional profile is worse. They have less minerals. Their saturated fat is higher. They're fatty altogether. The quality is just far, far worse, and it's just not healthy. Tilapia is in a very similar category as the farmed salmon. If you want to eat fish, better make sure it's from a good quality if it's farmed, otherwise get wild. Number 5 on the list is anything with artificial flavors, particularly artificial sweeteners, but we can include any artificial flavorings in commercially processed foods. So these artificial sweeteners, they claim to be like diet sweeteners, diet soda, diet this, diet. They have been linked with cancer, obesity, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, heart disease, stroke. They mess up they're not natural. Our body doesn't know what to do with them. They mess up our gut bacteria. They produce bad bacteria in our gut. They can mess up the chemical brain balance, leading to depression, suicidal tendencies. They can deregulate the serotonin, melatonin, the brain chemicals. They cause people to crave actually more sugar because you're not getting the sugar. You're getting the taste, but not the actual sugar. So the effect is that you crave more sweets, more sugar when you eat these artificial sweets. So they're anything but diet. They do the opposite. They make people gain weight, and there's been studies that have shown that they're just harmful. They're just awful. They're toxic. They're not natural, and they destroy your health. Avoid them. Number 4 on the list of top 10 foods to avoid are factory farmed dairy and factory farmed meat products. I put these both together because it's hard to say which is worse. They're both factory farmed. They're both fatty. They're both contribute to the disease. Besides the factory farming, there was a study called the China study. T. Colin Campbell, PhD, wrote a book about it, and it's the most comprehensive study of nutrition ever conducted and the startling implications for diet, weight loss, and long-term health. That's the subtitle. It was a study done for several years among many, many people in China that showed the connection between animal food consumption and cancer specifically, but I think it was also linking other diseases like diabetes, heart disease, stroke. There's insurmountable evidence that there's so many studies backing this up, and a lot of doctors nowadays fully acknowledge this, that the regular and heavy consumption of Meat and dairy products contribute to cancer and heart attack and stroke and diabetes and all the other diseases that are common. Now you take something that's already bad, again, and factory farm it, pump it full of synthetic growth hormones, very potent estrogens, antibiotic, GMO feed, corn and soy. It's not their natural diet, and it's also loaded with Roundup, and they're not getting grass, they're not getting the micronutrients they're used to. These animals don't have proper amounts of B12 because they're not getting that from the dirt and the bugs that they're used to eating when grazing. They're abused, they're sick, they're kept in tight cages, and they suffer their whole life. It's some of the worst foods you can eat. You take these and then you process them even further. You take milk and make it into all sorts of cheeses which are high in aluminum and other toxins, and same with meat. You ground it up, you put it in this patties and this and that, and then you fry it and the fat oxidizes. It's just toxic on top of toxic on top of toxic, and it causes cancer, causes all the diseases. It's killing you. Number 3 on the list is factory farmed chicken and turkey. So why do I have these above meat and dairy? It's a toss-up. It's kind of a toss-up. But I put them ahead. I put them at number 3 because poultry are, again, different from us because they're birds and their bones are hollow. They're made to fly. We are not made to fly. Our bones are not hollow. Our bones are solid. So that's one of the main reasons that energetically chicken and turkey very negatively affects us. It weakens our bones, and it actually causes a lot of calcification around the joints. You see this with old people with their chicken claw hands, they get that, I don't even know what the word is, but they get the hardening of the joints and the fingers and the limbs, and they start to look like chickens. And then if you pay attention, you can really see it in somebody's face when they're eating a lot of chicken. Their nose gets really big, like a chicken beak, and then the neck skin hangs down, becomes very loose, yellowy, fatty, spotted, and then you can even hear when they're talking or laughing, they sound like chicken. People who eat a lot of chicken or poultry, they start to sound and look and act like chickens. And then you take that and you factory farm it, again, all the same things I said before. Very potent growth hormones, making you obese, fat, because these chickens grow from tiny to huge in a very short amount of time because of these very potent growth hormones. And they are estrogens. They are feminizing. They are turning men into women. They are causing man boobs, not soy. Guys, it's not soy. It's the factory farming with these very extremely thousands of times more potent than natural estrogen. It's loaded with it. All the factory farm foods is loaded with so much estrogen. It's making you big fat women. You're eating it and you're turning into fat women. And guys are getting breast cancer nowadays. It's terrible. Please stop eating this toxic food. Not to mention the suffering from the factory farming. These chickens are tortured. They're kept in tiny little cages. They're sick. They're dying. They have no room to move. It's awful. It's the worst. Terrible. Coming in at number 2 on the list of top 10 list of foods to avoid is factory farmed processed pork. So especially the commercially processed pork products. So you take something like pork, which is, if not predatory, opportunistic scavenger, indiscriminately eating everything, greedy, gluttonous, fat, and you factory farm it. You pump it full of growth hormones, antibiotics, GMO feed, Roundup, and it's wallowing in the dirt, and its flesh is full of parasites and toxins and fat. And then you take that and you further heavily process it, adding salt and chemicals and nitrates and artificial flavorings. And then you take it home and you fry it, maybe even in some more fat, and the carcinogens are just building up. When you're eating this factory farm pork products, bacon, ham, hot dogs, sausages, pepperoni, all that, you're just taking in massive amounts of toxins that are contributing to all the diseases, all at once. You're just taking it you're just eating pure disease when you're eating these commercially produced factory farm pork products. And you're making yourself very greedy, very animalistic, zero discrimination. You're turning yourself into a big fat pig. What can I say? You eat these pork products, you're turning yourself into a big fat sick dying pig. All right, this is the top 10 list of foods to avoid. Coming in at number 1. The number 1 top spot of foods to avoid is combinations of all of the above foods that I've already listed. Number 2 through number 9. Let's say you take a factory farm pork product and you fry it in GMO soy oil with batter, and then you combine it with cheese and eggs and meat, and you eat a big old fat sandwich like that. Drink diet soda on the side. You have the artificial sweeteners, which are not satisfying you, destroying your gut bacteria, messing up your brain chemistry, causing depression and suicidal tendencies. And then you have ice cream or more cookies with artificial sweeteners or high fructose corn syrup, GMOs, more toxins and hydrogenated oils and factory farming. And then on top of that, maybe you throw in a cigarette. Kill yourself. That's what you're doing. I mean, this is toxic. When you combine these layers, you're just killing yourself. And guys, no wonder the health of Americans and those following the modern Western diet are becoming so fat, so sick, so unhealthy, because they're just eating all the foods that I mentioned on top of each other. Guys, that's it. Take care of your health, avoid these foods, and be well. All right.